Shall we start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. So, hi, Alex. Thank you for being here. I just know that on November the 4th, the SCA just announced that they will officially use the CVA cupping forms as their new cupping forms. So, is there anything you want to say about this one?
Yeah, I think that the CVA provides a really necessary update to the way that we as an industry evaluate, and also the way that we talk about coffee and the way that we ascribe values to coffee. Um, so I think the updating of the SCA protocol to officially adapt to CVA is really exciting, because I think it will help to move our industry into discussing coffee more based off of a coffee's individual attributes and less off of arbitrary score that's awarded to coffees. So I think it's a really exciting future for the industry.
So could you be more specific about the change that is happening in the CVA cupping form compared to the old SCA cupping forms?
Yeah. So, I want to be clear that the original cupping form, has served this industry really well for a really long time. And so I think a good way to look at CVA and why this update was necessary is to kind of think of it like you would think of like a cell phone. If you think about the cell phones that came out 20 years ago, they were a lot different than the phones we have today.
Sure.
And so I think with, the original form, you have this form that was really focused on the idea of coming up with a coffee's score, basically. But and that's been a great thing for our industry. But where we're at now, if you look at what people value in a coffee, they typically value a lot of information.
Yeah.
If you look at the best roasters in the world, you look at their coffee bags and it has the farm name, the altitude, the processing, tons of flavor notes. And so what CVA does that I think is really important is it gives us as cuppers more of an ability to capture not only intrinsic information about coffee, like our flavor notes or our impression of the acidity, but it also gives us the ability to capture that extrinsic information about coffee, like where it was grown, the farmers that grew it, and really start to, instead of just basing our idea of a coffee's value off of this score, really looking at this holistic picture of a coffee. I think it's really important to with CVA, because also the way that we taste coffees and what we prize in coffee has
Hmm.
changed so much in the past 20 years.
I agree.
Yeah, like 20 years ago when I first started in coffee, everyone wanted clean, washed coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone wanted those coffees to be Bourbon or Typica, or maybe Ethiopian heirloom, but it was like
Hmm.
it had to be these things. And you know, that is kind of what that whole scoring model was based around, was evaluating those coffees. But now, people have
Hmm.
developed broader appreciation for different processing methods and different flavors in coffee. Um, that it really started to become apparent that we needed a cupping form that allowed for those differences of opinion and
Yeah.
for that to be okay. Um, so I think those are the differences, and I think there's still a place for the 2000
Hmm.
form. I think that just like the COE form, all cupping forms are tools. So each of them, will have different uses, and I definitely think that 2004 form will go on and probably have many more years of long life for lots of people. But I think definitely, for a new generation of coffee professionals, having this form or forms in CVA that are easier to train on, more scientifically accurate, more based off of what we know about modern sensory science and how to run sensory science panels successfully to gather successful data from people. I think that, having a form like that will really set us up well moving forward to, capture more things about coffee that we love.
Yes. I think it's been the CVA form has been years in the making, and I have read a lot of documents from the SCA about this, and I have watched some interview from Peter Giuliano about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they are very proud of this form. And the more I learn about CVA, I think it's a very timely update for the coffee industry at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, it's one thing, I think, what you said about like SCA being very proud of it is very true. I think they are proud of it. And I think one thing that's really interesting about SCA is when they set out to do something, they do it very well,
Yeah.
typically. And it usually has resounding impact in the coffee industry. I remember when SCA first started launching their certifications and their education courses, there was a lot of pushback, and a lot of people were like, well, I don't understand why I need this. I've been a barista, blah, 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 blah. And, you look at those courses now, and they're the industry, kind of the gold standard for how a lot of people start learning in the industry and become professional. So, I think that CVA will be that way too. I've definitely heard some folks be like, we don't need another cupping form. We don't need another way to evaluate coffee. But, I feel like with SCA's pride in this project and their determination, I think that it will be a really important thing for people to learn about going forward.
Yeah, I think I can see that SCA is pushing this form very quickly. I think the project was started just 1 year ago. I mean, the form was released maybe more than a year ago, and
yeah. So my understanding of the timeline was they started realizing that they needed to make some pretty big changes to the cupping form around like 2018, 2019. And, they had internal talks about that. But, it's a big change, and we're all very busy people, and there's not a lot of us that work in specialty coffee. So I think they just never had the time. And then COVID happened, and folks, that are normally very busy, like Dr. Mario and Peter Giuliano, they were able to sit down and really start to think about like what would a new cupping form look like. And I know that they ran surveys of thousands of users of the 2004 form. I think starting in 2021. And I think you're right that early last year, they released the beta version of the effective and the descriptive forms for the CVA system. And then those have been, codified. Those are now the official forms. SCA has a green grading form for the CVA system that they are working on upgrading. And then they also have the new extrinsic evaluation. So, and I think most of those they released, I think, as you said, in early 2023. I know with the green grading form, they are looking for funding to make the form more accessible to other types of coffee, because right now they're very clear in their wording that it should only be used on washed coffee.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah, I think this is enough for now.
Okay.